friends, here are a few ways that you can support us by supporting my sponsors. Elmer Garcia, Realtor, and AVS Concepts, Audio and Video Home Entertainment. Those are my sponsors. Go follow them. You can find the information on the description. The other way you can also find out of everything that we're doing is join our newsletter at tbbbyalicia.com, and that's going to give you all the things that we're talking about, everything, all the resources, all the stuff that you want to know. The other way that you can also support us and keep our podcast driving is through joining our Global Vibes Insider community. What is that? What is the Vibes Global Insider? It is a group where you can come in as an insider and subscribe and join to the community. And it was created for you to inspire you, to educate, to show how you can craft the life you wish to live. It is filled with experiences, including in-person events, business masterminds, speakers, resources. You get shout outs in the podcast. We invite you to workshops. We get to go on local trips and even wine tastings. So how do you get to join that group? So you'll go to my website at tbbbyalicia.com, and then you select the community group, and there's 3 tiers. The first tier is the secret tier. It's for $10, and that includes a t-shirt, a signed book by me, and a shout out on the podcast, $10 a month. The next tier is the explorer tier, and that is for $25 a month, and it's a t-shirt, a book, and a shout out. Plus, I'm including a monthly one-to-one chat with me, and those are monthly one-on-one chats with me. You don't want to miss those. Those are amazing 30-minute one-to-one chats for $25. And the last tier is a $45 Globetrotter, and that includes all the things I mentioned before: the t-shirt, the book, the monthly one-on-one, the shout out on the podcast. Plus, you get invite to members only, insider only events, a welcome travel gift box. You know, I bring great things for my travels. And also I'm adding a digital style mood board for you. It includes styling, it includes accessories, everything customized and personal for you. Again, this is how you can contribute and you can be a part of us, and you help us keep our podcast thriving. I hope you join. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Vibes by Alicia podcast. I am super excited to be bringing you someone that I've been really interested in following for the last 2 or 3 months. I've only met her in July, and Britney has become, I think, someone that I'm just like kind of a little bit obsessed with, maybe a little stalkish, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from her. Friends, please help me in welcoming my guest for this episode, Britney Crosson.
Thank you so much.
Britney, you're awesome. And the minute I met you, I needed to have you on the podcast because I think you have so much goodness and so much knowledge to share with all of us, especially with me, because I'm really learning a lot from you. Let's just be honest. I thought I knew a lot, and I really don't. You're really taking it to the next level for me. So Britney is a fun-loving social media star. She's definitely a social media star, creator of the Social Sunshine podcast, where she helps you build a brand, make an impact, and have fun with social media. And having fun with social media is something she definitely does, y'all. She definitely has fun. She's the owner of Fun Love Media. She helps her clients with online marketing, content creation, and social media management. You're a true force, Britney. You have over 150 episodes published since November. Yeah, I heard that on your podcast. I was like, wow.
Oh, no,
November 2019.
2019, yes.
Yeah, November 2019. Yeah, November 2019. And you're also somebody who really goes on your treadmill and actually likes it. And you go on your Peloton and you love it and you have fun, which is good because it's a motivator.
Right. No, I do. I'm pretty Peloton obsessed, quite frankly.
Her treadmill, guys, and her spin bike dancing videos have over 14 million views, and they're counting. Y'all need to head over to YouTube and see them. They're quite funny and quite fun to watch.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast, Britney.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for having me here in your studio. So nice and fancy in here.
Oh, thank you. I love it in here. This is like my little sanctuary.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think I would just hang out in here constantly.
I do. When I need to get away from the boys, I'm like, okay, I'm heading to my studio. Bye. So I met Britney while doing the Pod Houston event. We had an event called the Badass Women in Podcasting. You were one of the panelists and I moderated. And I just felt your positivity, and I felt your embrace. You're like very welcoming. Somebody who really like embraces women, embraces people, and just wants to really do good for the goodness of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no like deeper agenda. Like, I'm going to get to meet you because I need something from you. Nothing like that. It's very authentic. It's very real. So,
Thank you.
and I felt that, those were the vibes. Those were the vibes that I got. So I
Thank
loved
you so
it.
much. That means a lot to me.
So let's get started with social media, because you are, a social media person. You are the creator, the owner of Fun Love Media. You help people with marketing and content creation. Honestly, for me, it's like a chore. Social media for me is a chore, to be honest. Like, I like doing it when I feel like it, but you have to be consistent. I do know that. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not in the mood. I'm not posting anything. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. So, I wish it was fun. I wish it was fun for me.
Right.
Tell me, how can I make it fun?
Maybe you should try dancing on a treadmill at your own risk. I can't be responsible for that.
I don't have insurance, so maybe not.
No, but in all seriousness, that's completely common. Like, and that's probably why I have a business, right? Is because people don't want to necessarily always do their own social media for their business, or they're not sure what to do or what's effective. They're super busy running the business and doing all the other things.
Yeah.
Why would you want to also have to do that too? I mean, it's marketing right now. It's like the most common, the most effective marketing in existence, essentially, right? But like when we were growing up, that's not how it was. But if you can, especially if you can remember the times like whenever you and I were growing up, if, anybody out there listening can remember, newspaper ads and whatnot, you just shifted that mindset as a business owner. Like, this is just part of it. Mm-hmm. But the thing about social media posts is that you're right. It's creative. And so like whenever the feeling strikes you, you feel inspired to do it because it is art in its own right. But you're not always going to feel that way, but it's still important. So it's all about the discipline. It's just like anything else.
Yes,
working out, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So what I always advise, like at least to get started so that you get into a really good groove with your own social media, is to figure out what you can sustain. Figure out what you can post on social media and actually do it. So while I believe it's actually totally cool if somebody wants to post every single day, like they have these huge, big goals. Yeah. If you need to start though and say, I'm just going to promise myself I'm doing 3 posts a week. That's it. Nothing else, or, whatever it is. Yes. And stick with that for a little bit. Like go with that for 6 weeks.
All the experts say you got to post at least 2 to 3 times a day sometimes. And that can be overwhelming for some of us that are like struggling just to post once.
Well, let me tell you about how often you should post, because it depends on your goals. Okay. Right? So in fact, I just recently did a video series on this, and I'm really excited to form into some sort of curriculum, because it's going to be really helpful for people to know what the heck they even need to do, right? How many times to post, how to look at it. It depends on your goal, and it depends on the kind of business that you have. Right. So for you, though, I will say you land in what I call the force category, which means you're a force, and you have a podcast, and you do want bigger numbers probably, because I do podcasts call that, for a podcast to be extremely successful, it typically calls for pretty large numbers in your audience, which means if you had larger numbers in social media, then it would translate. Right. So for you, yes, you are in a situation where it would be good to have that goal of posting every single day, but you've got to work yourself there. But that doesn't go for everybody. Yeah. Somebody who only works with people one-on-one, say they're a life coach and they just do one-on-one sessions with their clients. They don't need, 10,000 followers, because they can literally only work with one person at a time. True. So it depends on your goals.
Okay. But my problem is, like, I'm not a performer. Like, I used to perform. I was a dancer for a long time. Like, it's a totally different kind of thing. But I struggle with going on like a TikTok or like on Instagram and dancing and singing and doing that. And then I feel like, oh gosh, I wish I could, but I'm not that girl. It's not my authentic self. I'm kind of going against. For you, it's very natural. I can tell it's a very natural thing. It doesn't seem forced. Like, you can tell that some people force it just to kind of get the numbers, and they're like really like struggling, and you're like, oh, I know you don't want to do this. But I don't want to force myself. So how can it be best for me to show my authentic self, genuinely me, without having to do that?
That's a great question. And it's actually really cool that you already have done the first step, which is recognize what is authentic to you. It doesn't mean that not everybody probably has a moment where they're singing in the shower or they're bopping through their house, you know, doing laundry. And that's cool. Everybody's got a little.
And I'll do that.
And everybody's got a little bit of that.
Do it online.
It doesn't mean that that's your thing, right? Exactly. So I love that you've already identified that and you care about being authentic. A lot of people, like you said, maybe not so much. And so they will force these dance trends or these lip sync things and all that jazz. And it's not cool. So you use what you've got is what I always say. So that's what I had. I had the talent and the ability and the desire even to perform in front of people. That's my life's dream anyway. So it made sense. But no, you shouldn't force that. I think that right now, especially like as we're recording this in fall of 2022, what's becoming more popular, like and the dance trends are kind of fading, is really talking to the camera for a short moment. That like literally like your Instagram reels. Yep. You're great at talking. And you just make it, and what you do when you make these kinds of videos where you're talking to the camera, you're making them as reels, you're making them as TikTok videos, all that stuff, YouTube shorts, whatever. But you just want to have a very specific reason for that video. And you're talking about that specific thing. You're solving that one problem in that moment. And that's it. And that's the video. Great. And just be real, be you.
And you know what? That's easy. I can do that. Good. That doesn't sound daunting or overwhelming at all. I can definitely sit in front of something and talk about it and not feel like it's not true to me.
Right. Right.
I love that.
Exactly.
Do you have a background in marketing? Is that what you studied in school?
No. In fact, I am a college dropout. I always wanted to be an actor. That was the goal, right? So from childhood, I was a dancer in our small town doing like whatever you can in a small town, right?
Yeah,
like a beauty pageant, a talent show. I don't care. Throw it at me. Put me on a stage, right? And I did all those things growing up. And it was always the plan. I wanted to be on a popular TV show like Full House. That was definitely what was going to happen. It didn't, long story short. And I still loved, though, everything that kind of goes with this. It's interesting. I realized those are the things I paid attention to, like what I do now, right? So I paid attention to hosts on television, and now I'm hosting a show and I'm on camera all the time. So all those little things I did and that I was interested in now have come together to benefit my career now.
Your career,
It's crazy. And so we might look back and we might think, oh, I did this, or I learned that, or I had that experience, and what a waste because it didn't work out the way I planned. But actually, it's not a waste. Those things are like building blocks and they help you later, you know.
Self-teaching, right? You taught yourself a lot of those things. And I think we learned a lot through observation and through, like, I'm inspired by people a lot. So I'm always paying attention to things that they do. And I try to emulate some of those things so that I can incorporate them in myself. You know, one of the things that I'm very, like, people always comment on, like, I'm very confident. Like, you always walk in very confident. You always approach things in a very confident way. But I always tell people, I'm like constantly learning from confident people. Like, I pay attention to what they do. I pay attention to the way they handle themselves. I pay attention to the way they approach things. Their self-talk, you know, I listen to that. You know, they talk to themselves. They pump themselves up. I do a lot of that. So I think you're right. I think we're learning all these things through experience, but then we can apply them. We can apply them for ourselves, you for your business and me for the podcast.
Right, exactly. And I can't let that topic go without saying that everything I ever needed to know about running a business, I learned from my dad and our family business. He started it whenever I was 2. I am now 42. And he's still running it to this day.
What kind of business does he have?
It's an electronics business. So it's marine electronics on boats. Yeah. And he's tech savvy, which is cool because I was always around that. So that helped me be tech savvy. Another thing that contributes to my career now in social media. But I learned, hey, if somebody wants to go to college and needs to go to college, I say, you do you, boo. But in my case, I'm so thankful I had that real life experience with him because it's special for a family business. I worked there since I was 16. I still help file the sales tax. Are you a daddy's girl? Yeah, but more in like I am, but it's also in like this like weird true friends, like we're buddies. And
I have that same relationship with my dad. We're like friends.
Isn't that special?
Yeah, we're like buddies, literally buddies.
Yeah.
Like he goes to me for things and I go to him for things. It's not like a father-daughter relationship. It's more like we're friends. We're good friends.
Right. And it's really, really special. And
I love that.
It means a lot. Yeah. And so he taught me whether he was literally sitting there teaching me a skill at the business or if I was just watching him and learning things. And that's how I learned to run a business. And I'm so thankful. I didn't know that wasn't the thing, right? Like I grew up and I went, oh, so not everybody knows the things I know. And that's another lesson, right? We know a lot. We should give ourselves credit for what we've learned and what we know.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. Right.
I've never had a business either, but when I married my husband, he was a businessman. He was always into business because his father had multiple businesses. And he ran his dad's businesses when we were in college. And so I learned a lot of my skill sets from my husband. And, I always get asked, like, who's your, like, mentor? And I always say him because he was my mentor. We got married very young. We were, right out of college, and we kind of grew up together. But it sounds weird to people. It's, oh, you don't have a woman mentor or you don't have, like, no, my husband really is my mentor. He really is the guy that I go to for business advice. He's the one that I trust with business advice. I've seen him in the trenches. I've seen him handle problems, go through strategies, handle, really tough situations in his business and different businesses that he's had. And it's kind of interesting that you say your dad was somebody you learned from, which is really cool. I don't think it always necessarily... And I think nowadays it's like such a thing, like, you don't have a female mentor? Like,
I don't.
I didn't.
Me neither.
I really didn't. Men were my mentors, and
Me
my
too.
husband was my mentor. And it's totally A-okay for him to be my mentor because guess what? I learned a lot from him.
Right. No, I agree with you. I love men.
I know. Me too. Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
I do. I love
but
men.
It's sort of kind of like weird nowadays to say that.
You're right. And there's
a weird vibe going around that. Like,
for sure. There's a movement and I think that's great to support in anybody, whether, but yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm thankful that I have positive experiences with men. I'm very close to my dad. I'm very close to my brother. I'm very close to my husband. So they're key people in my life and they happen to be men.
I can see that. And your husband's very supportive of what you do, which is really nice and really awesome to have.
Yeah.
Because I know a few women who struggle with that a lot. They have to convince them before they can do anything, like why they are passionate about something or why they want to do something. I must tell you, I know the place to go if you need house audio, TV installation, security monitoring. I am telling you, these people are so, so good that I cannot wait to share them with you. AVS Concepts is the place to get all of these things taken care of. They're the experts in audio video. If you are entertaining and you need music, call them. If you just purchased a new house and you want to have security, you've got to call them. They are the best at all of this for you. I am so excited to share them with you. They are new sponsors for the podcast. You will not regret having them in your house. They can put anything up and create the most amazing surround sound. I am telling you, when I watch my movies, I like to watch them with surround sound. And thanks to AVS Concepts, I can do that. Follow them at their Instagram account, AVSC_HTX, or you can also find them at their website, avcschouston.com, and tell them that Alicia from Vines by Alicia sent you, and they will take care of you. I promise you. So, okay, Brittany, talking about your business, you have the podcast, the Social Sunshine Podcast. Is that an extension of your business, or is that something that is just a side hustle? Like, how was the development of that, the creation of that for you?
So the Social Sunshine Podcast is definitely a part of Fun Love Media.
Okay.
Fun Love Media is the main business. That's kind of the umbrella. That's my agency. We are a small but mighty team of 5. And the Social Sunshine Podcast, I started that after I formed Fun Love Media, not too long after, less than a year. It'd only been 10 or 11 months that I was officially in business. And what I did this for multiple reasons. One, I was obsessed with podcasts. Since 2015, I had been listening to podcasts every single day. A lot of them had to do with the Real Housewives, maybe not business.
Guilty.
I mean, now I listen. Now
I'm obsessed with them as well.
Me too. Now I listen to a lot more business stuff. But then in 2015, and my kids were literally babies, and these podcasts were such a big part of my life. And so I loved that. It was so special to me that I could even do that. I could have my own thing. And being a performer, it's like, ooh, you got your own show. This is very exciting. But also it made sense in the business because I looked and I thought, I just don't see a lot of podcasts that are very specific to social media. And why not? Let's just try it out. So there we go. It was born. And what it's happened, and I talked to you a little bit about this before we start recording, is that it's been a part of our overall marketing for the whole business. So it lends credibility. It helps bring on guests that I can collaborate with, and all the things that you get from podcasting.
Yeah, and it's afforded both of us, I think, an opportunity to be speakers at different events, right? For sure. Like I've been tapped in to be speaker at multiple things because they hear my podcast. They know that I have, a voice. So I think that's another way for us to promote ourselves. So I want to go into a little bit of brand awareness because I know that's something that you definitely talk about and you're really passionate about that because I've listened to your episodes and that is something you say that is so important. In terms of brand awareness, Britney, where do you stand in terms of like separating our personal brand from our professional brand? Let's just say we have a business. Should that be separated or should both be, in congruency?
Right. That's a really good question. And we are so aligned right now because today, what is today? Today, we're recording this Monday, September 12th, 2022. I posted a video on Instagram about this. I'm not kidding. We are so aligned. I swear to you. So how do you separate it? Do you separate it? All those things. It really depends upon goals and also the structure of your business. Okay. So if you are building what you would call a company, meaning that you want it to be able to run without you, essentially, there's a lot of definitions to it, but then yes, definitely have separate social media accounts, have your own presence, have the business presence and all that jazz. Like you'll go on Instagram and you can find Fun Love Media has its own account. Britney has her own account. Yes. The podcast has its own account. And I did that on purpose, but that's not applicable to everyone. If you're building a business that you don't care if it runs without you, like say you're a one-on-one life coach and you are the thing and you're good with that, well, then they can be combined if you want. It's really more about your preference at that point.
You don't feel like it's dividing the audience?
If you have separate ones? No, I think it's necessary, just like having a website would be necessary. Like I have to have funlovemedia.com, like because we're an agency and I have people working for me and you know what I mean? So it just depends on the kind of business it is. Okay. It makes sense. Like gotcha. My brand is a personal brand. So when you go to Britney's pages, yes, I love to talk about business because it's part of what I do anyway. Right. But you also might see me mention something about wine or being a mom or whatever, because that's a personal brand. Right. And they're both very, very important, but not everybody has to separate them. It really depends on the situation. It depends on the situation and everybody's situation is different. Yeah. So it just depends on what their goals are. You mentioned goals, like what are their goals? Right. Right, exactly. And so like I said, like if you want your business, even if it's not yet, if you want it to turn into that company vibe, you want to have people working for you and you want it to be that kind of structure where maybe you're not the only one doing the work, right? Gotcha, then it makes sense to have separate accounts and have your own account. But even in your own quote unquote personal account, I still think it's incredibly important for business owners to build a personal brand on social media. No matter what size your business is, no matter what kind of business, and you do it your way. You don't have to dance on a treadmill. You do it your way. But I think it's very, very important because you're the human behind the business and people like that human. That connection. Yep. Right. And they want to know your story a little bit more. They're interested in that. What do you think about people who are now in like different sectors and businesses starting a podcast for that business? What do you think about that? Is that something that makes sense? Yep, two thumbs up on that. It does. It's not for everybody, as you know. It does take commitment. It takes consistency. We want to be solid for our audience. You want to be able to commit and say, even if you're not doing, because a weekly podcast is a sweet spot, right? But even if you're not there and you can just do it once or twice a month, choose it and stick to it and be there for your audience. So if you don't think you can make that commitment and sustain it, then maybe it's not for you. But otherwise, there are so many benefits to having a podcast if it's just like for your business and a part of your business. You know, you're the authority now. Like you got a show. That's baller. Yeah. So start it if you really believe you can be consistent with it, because you don't want to start it and be like a flake. Like I read a statistic that said only like 10% of podcasts go beyond the 100 episode, I think is something like that. Yeah. I think a lot of people decide to start it and maybe do 1 or 2 or 3 episodes and then they let it go. They don't really commit to it. It's really common, unfortunately, with podcasts because there's a low barrier to entry, right?
Yes.
You don't have to have a setup like Alicia has that's badass. You really don't, right? Like, I know a girl that has a podcast and she records it on her phone in her car.
Listen, I used to do that too in 2020 when I started in March 2020.
Right.
I was in my little study.
There you go. I mean,
but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to go all the way.
Right, exactly. And it's you do it how you want to do it, but it's all about just a general commitment. I do think it's great for a business owner. I think it does give you brand awareness, and it also does give you that authority figure of like, okay, Sally not only owns this great dry cleaning business, but she got a show about it. Like, she knows, you know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
Of course. So the next thing that I wanted to mention or talk to you about is something that I've been thinking about and just kind of like percolating in my head. I wanted to talk to you about your small business social society. Small biz social society. It's a membership that helps ambitious entrepreneurs stand out on social media.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of podcasters have patrons, for example. They either go on Patreon and maybe create an account there. They have memberships. They create communities. That's something I've really been thinking about and something that I've definitely wanted to do. You have a membership community. Mm-hmm. How is that working out? And does that make sense for podcasters to do?
It's working out beautifully because of the people. Some of these people, we know each other's kids' names. We are family.
Wow.
Some of them have become actually close friends with me. But even beyond that, it's just that power when people come together, for a similar thing, right? Which for us, it's mostly social media. That's why it's been so beautiful, is the people, and I love them.
How have you created that community, though? What took it?
I worked hard for every member that's in there. It took a lot of work because it's still in its infancy. It's only just now 2 years old. I started it in August of 2020. Great time to start a new adventure. I mean, I think in the middle of a pandemic is a great
time. Yeah. We talked about real estate earlier and we were selling houses. Yeah, we were selling houses in 2020, like left and right.
Right, exactly. And so I did this because I did it for a couple of reasons. And yes, it could help podcasters. Is for one, I wanted to be able to help more people at once. And in business, you would call that it being scalable. Because in Fun Love Media, although we could help a good bit of people, it's still limited. It's us as individual humans doing the actual work for their social media, for their brand, the thing. But a membership, I can teach a class to 20 people the same as I can teach it to 200 people, right? So I knew I could make a bigger impact with a community. And that can go for a podcaster as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you can just you can accomplish more with the same effort. And then the second big important thing about having a community like this is that there's so much power in the numbers. I mean, the end, it's a movement, and that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to create this movement of people that were similar to me in the fact that mostly we have a zest for life and we want to use social media as a tool to make a positive impact on the world. And it can help our business, and it can help our podcast. It can help our brand. It can help our nonprofit, whatever the person is doing.
Yes.
And that's what's happened, is that the people that have joined are like that. They want to do good in the world, and they want to let social media help them do that. So a podcaster can totally use that same idea. Yeah.
And I know that you embody that, because I know when I met you, you really did whenever we talked or we had questions, it was really about the higher good or the bigger good or the community good, you know? And that is something I'm definitely considering and thinking about as I go through my podcast and thinking about how can I give more like one-on-one value to people who really want to kind of come and meet as a community, as insiders in here and share those resources that I have and share the knowledge that I've acquired over the years. So I think it makes sense. And I like what you've been doing. And I saw that you had a conference. You had your first conference this summer.
We did. It was so amazing.
That is something that I definitely look forward to, and something that I can definitely try to achieve, because I think in a way you really touch people in a sense that's like outside of the podcast, outside of the big business,
right?
In a more personal way,
right?
And
exactly.
They get the Britney Crosson in a one-on-one small community, way, right? I felt that. I sensed that when I heard your podcast.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, it is. You get access. I mean, I will go above and beyond for the people in my community. The end.
I can tell.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that would be me too. I would do that for them.
Exactly. And that's so special. And granted, I do recognize that not if, but when we grow to have thousands of members, because we absolutely will, I won't be able to quite do that. So I knew going into this is your chance in those first few years, Britney, to lay that solid foundation with your community and be there for them and create that culture, because then those people that were there from the get-go will carry that on when you do grow. And I can't answer 500 messages in a day to help someone with their social media,
Right.
And that's exactly what we're creating. And it's hard because I'm impatient sometimes and I want just grow. But I recognize it's a gradual process.
Yeah. And I think that's the most difficult part. It's a gradual growth.
Yeah.
And for some of us who really just want to see the success and the big picture and everything happening,
right.
It's hard, but we definitely need to remind ourselves that if we really want to do good, if we really want to do a real impact and actually create a movement, then it all takes time.
Right. Exactly. It really does.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's so much you can do in a year. There's so much you can do in 2 years. You can change your life. You can change other people's lives. It's just really incredible. And you're going to look back and you're going to go, thank God I started and I took action.
Love that. Y'all need to go listen to her podcast. Tell us again what your podcast is.
Thank you. It's called the Social Sunshine Podcast. It's on all the major platforms.
Yeah. And go to her TikTok because it's hilarious.
Come have fun with me on TikTok.
I know. I was following you without picking the follow button. I was just looking at your stuff. I'm like, why am I
click
I do
follow.
that with people on Instagram. I'm like, oh, let me go and see what they're doing, and I'm not following. I'll just go tap in on their search.
See, so that's the answer behind the mystery of why we can't grow our followers. We just forget. No, yes, please come have fun with me on TikTok. Instagram is my hub. That's what I call it. It's my primary spot, and then everything else I try to add as much content as I can every single day, and I genuinely enjoy it.
Yeah, and you guys are going to get so much great value from it because she also has a Facebook page where she shares value. She also has her Instagram account, and I've gone on there, like I said, I'll just read and stalk and just make sure that I'm okay, am I keeping up with the latest, right? I need to know that, but definitely follow each other and let's follow her. Britney, we're both mamas. We both have 2 kids. My audience is filled with women entrepreneurs, women bosses, moms. Okay. Do you balance it all, or tell us the truth?
No, ma'am.
I love that.
Balance is the wrong adjective, or the wrong word. Is that an adjective? That's a noun. I don't know. Do I have balance? I am balancing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but you know what? It's fine because that's how it's going to go with life. Yeah. There's you can have your days where your work heavy. You can have your days where your mom heavy. You have your days where you're watching Real Housewives with wine heavy. It's okay. It's just the way it is. And you figure it out as you go. And as long as you make that intentional effort to, when you're working, to work hard and be super focused as you can. And then when you're with your kiddos, because, kiddos, 10, 15 minutes of quality time can go really far.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think balance is not a good word. I think we keep hearing it out there and it doesn't happen.
Juggling.
Yeah. You're constantly juggling.
Yeah.
You're constantly, it's like organizing your time. It's time management all the time.
Totally.
You're constantly managing. We talked about, okay, we got to go pick up our kids. We have husbands that we have to handle sometimes. We have our kids. We have our own business. I have to come and record for myself. We're constantly managing time.
Totally.
But it's fun.
It is fun.
We love what we're doing, right?
Right. I love what I'm doing.
Love it. You guys, please follow Britney. Go what she's doing. Go see her community, your community,
Small Biz Social Society.
Small Biz Social Society.
I'm wearing my shirt today.
Oh, I love that. We rise together. We do. We rise together and we create a movement together. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you, and I'm excited to continue this conversation and maybe, revisit it in a few months.
Yes, let's do a part 2. Thank you.
So, thank you, Britney.
You know what time it is.
Friends, I want you to meet my favorite bilingual realtor, Elmer Garcia. You all know that a passion of mine is real estate investing, and having a great realtor by your side is essential. Elmer knows the city of Houston like the back of his hand. And not only is he highly regarded by his clients, but also by the professionals in his field. I can tell you from experience that he is attentive, trustworthy, thorough, and detail-oriented. He knows what I like, y'all, and seeks out opportunities for finding the right property for me. His services range from residential real estate to commercial and investment. He will guide you the entire way, I can tell you that. You can email him at elmerg.realtor@gmail.com or call him at 832-512-5752, or you can also find him on Instagram, ElmerGarcia_real estate. And don't forget, anything real estate is his forte.